Teachers of Reddit, what is the worst thing you've seen a parent do to their child that either made you want to, or did make you, call Child Protective Services? Couple years back I was running a preschool classroom in a low-income area. Had a kid who would constantly come in visibly dirty. Usually always had a dirty diaper, was almost 5. So we had a theory that she never really got a bath or changed or anything. Changed her up before sending her home one day, and I had my assistant draw a star on her diaper. Sure enough, go to change her when she arrives the next morning, and there's the star on her diaper. She had been in the same soaked diaper for nearly 18 hours. Had one particular year where we had a bunch of students who had terrible home lives. Roaches coming out of book bags, dirty clothes, etc. One parent-teacher conference. The parent was clearly on pills and kept talking about what a terrible child she had, but the kid wasn't bad at all, they just had low grades because they missed so much school. That summer their house burned down and their brother was arrested for making child porn. Another set of parents came in that year with a toddler wearing only a diaper and they were all really dirty, like they hadn't bathed in a week. The child always looked clean at school though, which made me think they cleaned up in the bathroom before school. Not as serious as other stories, but my aunt works with a lot of immigrant children, usually grade 1 to 3, and she said she had noticed a student being very tired every day and not doing any homework, so the next time she met with the parents she asked them if he is getting enough sleep or what he does at home. The parents tell my aunt that they make him help in the kitchen of their restaurant every evening after school and they usually get home at around 1 a.m. My aunt was very angry and tried explaining that he can't be working at such a young age and until so late because he had schoolwork to do and it was affecting his grades. Aunt also reported it to the principal, but I have no idea if it got to the point of calling CPS about it. I will lead with I'm not a teacher. However, I have had to report to CPS. A sweet 14-year-old joined a server I'm in on Discord. I also happen to be a moderator and immediately we couldn't help but find her to be a refreshing change in company. She's passionate about animals, bright, basically teaching herself as her mom is doing her best but still struggling and she's at home. But the more she talked about her mom, the more alarmed our mod team got. She was jaundiced, losing weight no matter what she ate, had constant stomach pain, and despite all those alarming symptoms, her mom refused to even take her to a GP. Her mother would scream at her if she asked for help with school things, she was severely stunted in education, and she was regularly told she was useless and couldn't do anything. The last straw was when she finally admitted there was physical abuse as we suspected, including a chair being thrown at her head. Despite most of us being under 25 and struggling ourselves, we refused to leave a kid unsupervised in that position. After a long, serious conversation about what the symptoms in her health could mean, the escalation in physical abuse and the obvious assistance her mom needed, I got the necessary information for the CPS report and filed it immediately. In 2 days, the agents arrived, assessed the situation, and were able to get some sense into the mother. The 14-year-old is now getting help with school, going to a specialist children's hospital, and the mom is working to get her own issues under control with aid while CPS makes sure everything is going right. Sometimes the solution isn't remove the kid, sometimes it's assist the parent. Abuse is always abuse, but it isn't always intentional. When it isn't intentional, it often alarms the parent to realize what they've done. As a child from that situation, with loving but also abusive parents who didn't know better, I have been determined to help others in that situation. Not me, but a friend of mine used to teach at a religious school. She was not a follower of the same religion, but most of not all of the teachers, students, and staff were. Won't name the religion, but I guess one of her kids was showing up to school with marks on his body. When she asked him about them, he said his parents would hit him when he misbehaved. I'm paraphrasing of course, but it didn't look good. My friend went to the principal of the school and told her what the child had said. The principal swept it under the rug and told her it was none of her business and to stay out of it. the kid kept showing up with marks, so when there was a parent-teacher conference she asked the parents about it. They proceeded to talk to the principal and try to get her fired from the school. She then got reprimanded for intervening, and didn't work there for too long after that. I was working with her at the time at another job, and she'd tell me what was going on when we had shifts together. I'm pretty sure she ended up calling CPS and they investigated it. Not sure of the outcome. My mum was a primary school teacher here in the UK. She worked at a very multicultural school in the suburbs of London and had a real mix of kids and parents who for the most part were absolutely lovely. I used to love going in to help them with classes. To give a bit more context, this was about 10 years ago now, and all the kids changed in the same room for PE. I think this may have changed now. After one school break, a lot of the kids started picking on one girl for smelling funny, which my mum initially ignored, but in once of these PE changes, her and the teaching assistant noticed it too. After a drawn-out, very sensitive investigation, they discovered one of the girls had been subject to female circumcision, now totally illegal in the UK. Mum went straight to the head and the issue did go further, but tragically the damage is already done in this sort of case, and I don't think anyone was ever reprimanded. I remember Mum coming home so angry about the whole thing, and then she still had to act professionally with these abusive parents at parent evenings and school events, etc. Thankfully there has since been a lot more media coverage on this form of abuse, and the police and social services, our version of child protection, have cracked down, but it definitely still happens. It's the sort of crime that's a one-off and hard to predict before it happens. I work in daycare/early learning. There's two brothers, one is in the twos room, the other pre-K. I swear their mother doesn't want them. The main thing that sets me off is she only gives one hug and kiss, refuses to give them any more if they want, like it's a punishment. The oldest boy, she won't even go into the class to drop him off. She opens the door lightly, shoves him in and says a quick bye. And no, she's not late for work. With little brother she'll come in only because he'll refuse to walk himself in. Give the most half-assed bye and literally walk around cubbies or the shelf to circle around him and bolt out the door, or she'll sneak out when he's not paying attention. Their dad passed about 8 months ago. And Mom had a new girlfriend almost immediately. We think Mom was super dismissive about their dad's death too. They never talked about it but for one day, not that it really means anything, but I don't think the boys ever got to properly mourn. One time they went on road trip to New York, drove all the way back, and the morning they got to town brought them into school. Didn't stop at home to change or anything. Poor kids were still asleep, youngest was so soiled his diaper could burst, and both were in dirty pajamas that were at least a day old. And they both just overall have poor hygiene.